in NASCAR's first points race at North Wilkesboro for the first time in 30 years. We saw amazing racing and a surprise winner that completely altered the outlook of the chase. Welcome back to another episode of Talkin NASCAR. I'm your host, Andrew. Hope you're all having a great day. Today, we're going to be talking about NASCAR's return to points racing at North Wilkesboro that happened last night in North Wilkesboro Speedway in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. An amazing race, an amazing event. NASCAR has put so much effort into bringing North Wilkesboro back onto the schedule. Same with Marcus Smith, Speedway Motorsports, Dale Earnhardt Jr. To see NASCAR returning to the North Wilkesboro Speedway, not in a exhibition race and for points paying events with 37 cars out on track. A full field was awesome to see, and we got a lot to break down from last night's race. But the only way to do that is we have to address the winner, because frankly, that was the biggest storyline to come from that last night's race in North Wilkesboro, where Joey Logano, a driver that has had a very underwhelming 2026 season for Team Penske in that 22 car, the three-time champion who won his last championship back in 2024, was sitting outside the chase with only 6 races left to go in the regular season before the chase started. So Logano was not in the chase, which is crazy to think about. For a driver that's had a lot of success in his entire career, for him to not be in the chase is almost unfathomable. Now, sure, consistency is something that has been, something that the team has struggled to find and hold on to over the last few years, but with the playoff format and winning you're in, it almost didn't matter. And Logano was able to do so well because of that format and being able to come up in the clutch. Logano performs the best when the lights are brightest. And once again, Logano has done it again. Him, Paul Wolfe, that entire 22 team, they came up in the clutch once again. When the lights were the brightest, when the spotlight was on NASCAR once again in their first race back in North Wilkesboro for a points race, Joey Logano stepped up to the plate and delivered the clutch base hit. Because, I mean, good Lord, Logano, after stage 1, had an incredible rest of the race. From stage 2 on, he led 300 laps, over 300 laps, out of the 450 laps that were ran. The most that Logano has ever led in a race, beating his laps led count from back in 2022 when he won the championship at Phoenix. He won stage 2, and when it wasn't in the middle of a pit cycle, Logano was leading. That was just how good he was. And now, sure, Logano maybe wouldn't have that lead if he didn't get a little bit lucky, because a caution came out in stage 2 during the middle of a pit cycle that really turned the field upside down, trapped multiple cars a lap down, including some big hitters like Chase Elliott, William Byron, Christopher Bell, many drivers that would have been contending for the win. But still, Logano, after that, led wire to wire, and he put many cars a lap down. And North Wilkesboro is a very small track, put many cars a lap down, and was just dominant the entire night. And this is back-to-back weekends that we've seen Team Penske dominate in races. Last weekend, it was Ryan Blaney who was constantly up front with Team Penske in that 12 car and ended up winning the race. He led from the pole and got the win. Joey Logano this week started out a little bit back, a little bit more. Didn't have a great qualifying position because qualifying got rained out. Started just outside the top 10 to Joey Logano, but still an impressive drive from that entire 22 team. Paul Wolfe called the right strategy, even though his main competition in this race was Denny Hamlin once again. Hamlin was going on a different pit strategy to try to, change things up and take a big swing at it. Paul Wolfe called the correct strategy once again that kept that 22 team out in front. The pit crew, one of the best pit crews in NASCAR, hasn't gotten the chance to show it because they haven't been in many big game scenarios like this and a chance to make a difference. They once again were very, very consistent, and Joey Logano obviously came up to the plate and did extremely well in this opportunity at North Wilkesboro. I mean, he damn near had a perfect event. If not for a third place finish in stage 1, And if he wins that stage, Logano has a perfect event going on. I know he didn't get the Xfinity fastest lap. That went to Ross Chastain. Still, Logano was just, a couple spots away from having a perfect night. In stage one, that went caution-free almost. There was one spin for John Hunter Nemechek, but that wasn't altered by pit stop or pit cycles. That changed track position, crazy or any way, capacity, shape, or form. Logano on pure pace was really, really good. And I guess when you take a look at context here that I think is very important in NASCAR and many sports in general, but specifically in NASCAR, this win makes sense on some levels because, like I already mentioned, Logano and this 22 team, they shine in the biggest moments and they come up in the clutch. We've already talked about that. They've done it several times. They did it once again in this one. In a scenario where Logano needs a great points day and has struggled all year long, but has just been just good enough to stay in the conversation, he comes up clutch here with a win. Same thing for Paul Wolf on the pit box. But when you look at the track type, it's not surprising that Logano did very well because Penske, over the last couple of years, I believe going back even to 2022 when the next gen car first came about, Team Penske has been extremely good on the short, flat ovals and short tracks in general, too. Ryan Blaney this season got a win at Phoenix, a short, flat oval. Logano was competitive in that one. Austin Cindric was competitive in that one. Josh Berry, driving for the Wood Brothers, a satellite team for Team Penske, did very good in this race in North Wilkesboro before he got wrecked out. But Josh Berry was brought into the Wood Brothers because he can capitalize on what the Wood Brothers and Penske are good at. And then for Logano, the last two places where he's won a NASCAR Cup Series championship both came at Phoenix. Back in 2024 was at Phoenix, 2022 also at Phoenix. Penske knows how to get it done on short, flat ovals. They haven't shown it very much this entire season. I would say really Phoenix was the one spot where I've seen it, at least in my memory. I can't remember, Martinsville going extremely good for them. Bristol, Blaney was up front, but Logano wasn't present very much in that race. And everywhere else since, they've struggled. But once they came back to a short flat oval, Logano shined once again. And then the third thing we got to pay attention to here is that Logano's done very, very good here in this race. He even won an all-star race here back in 2024, I believe, which was the same season he won a championship. Both, it was an even number year for Logano, so he's going to do good in even number years. But two, the win at the all-star race really kicked off what was a championship level stretch for Logano. He made it into the playoffs, won the round of 16, won at Las Vegas later on the chase, and managed to get all the way to Phoenix, which is another short flat oval. And whoop-de-doo, Logano does it again. He wins another championship, and he's able to capitalize in the big, brightest moments. Could we be seeing something the same thing here at North Wilkesboro once again? A win at Wilkesboro sparks a amazing run for this entire 22 team. I don't know. We can't rule that out as a possibility moving forward. So when you combine all those factors, that Logano and company, Team Penske, is really great in the biggest moments in NASCAR. When the pressure's on, they step up. They make it happen. They've done really, really good at the short, flat ovals and short tracks in general. And Logano and that 22 team, solely them, they have done so well at North Wilkesboro. You put all of that together, I don't think it's that surprising that Logano would win this race. Normally, if Logano was having a Logano-esque season where he's, top 12 in the standings, fighting for a top 10 position, maybe up inside the top 7 or 6 or 5, battling for the regular season championship, we wouldn't be having this conversation because you come into a short flat oval, oh, Logano, he's got to be one of the favorites. Blaney as well. One of the Penske guys has got to be the favorite. That wasn't the case this year because Logano just had a mediocre season overall. But if you take that out of consideration and just look at everything that Penske and Logano has done over the last couple seasons, this isn't too shocking of a victory at all. But this is a humongous win for Joey Logano and that 22 team for their chase position and overall probably just for morale in general for this 22 team because they weren't in a great spot heading into this week and this weekend in North Wilkesboro. Yes, they do have some tracks coming up at Richmond, New Hampshire, tracks where Logano almost won at back in 2024, where he got spun by Austin Dillon. New Hampshire, it's a short, flat oval that Penske is very good at. Blaney's been good there in the past. Logano, I have no doubt, now after this win, will be competitive in that one. So looking forward, Logano has a chance to go on a little bit of a run that really is going to change a lot of things. It's going to be like a Tyler Reddick crazy stretch of winning races like we saw at the beginning of the year. Now we're seeing it towards the end of the regular season as the summer is rapidly coming to an end. Logano could do something like that, like what Tyler Reddick we saw from Reddick early on in the season. I mean, shoot, I wouldn't be surprised if he would do stuff at Iowa. Blaney won at Iowa not too long ago. In Iowa, again, shorter track, not exactly flat, but I bet Logano and company can make it work. I mean, Blaney's won there. So Logano and company's got a good stretch of races coming up after this weekend in Indianapolis with Iowa, Richmond, and New Hampshire. Man, I think Logano is like salivating at the sight of that with all these short tracks coming up. But anyways, taking a look at the top finishers here from last night's race in North Wilkesboro, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, and Ty Gibbs round out the second through fourth place positions. Another Joe Gibbs Racing trio up at the front. Christopher Bell finished down in 19th, was battling some issues all night long, had some brake issues, battling with the handling. Not a very good night for Christopher Bell, still comfortably in the chase at the current moment. And then Shane Van Gisbergen, top 5 for SVG on an oval. I think it's his best finish on an oval. Great stuff from the Kiwi driver, the New Zealander, who is, struggled on ovals for the most part, but where we've seen SVG sign outside of super speedways is short tracks. I go back to last year at New Hampshire, SVG looked pretty solid. Also look at Richmond, Shane Van Gisbergen was doing very solid as well. We didn't get to see him much, at least if I can remember, at North Wilkesboro. But this year they figured something out. And Shane Van Gisbergen actually led laps in this one. And when he came on the radio after he took the lead, he was like, "What do I do? I've never led before. Like, this is insane. I'm leading laps at an oval. This is crazy." And, it was kind of funny to hear that. But SVG is figuring out these ovals, especially the short tracks. And again, it makes sense because it's a, higher braking track. You see more braking on, short tracks than any other track. So it makes sense that SVG would do fairly well at it coming off the corners, heading down into the corners. Very good stuff from SVG getting a top 5. Much needed points for his chase position. Bubba Wallace in 6th place. Kind of grinded out a good finish here, but solid stuff from Team 23 of 2311 Racing. Another Toyota inside the top 10 here, and then a string of Fords here with Keselowski, Gilliland, and Ryan Preece to round out the top 10. Preece was not having a good night at all. Just kind of mired back in traffic in like 20th. Managed to run it long and ended up with a good finish. So shout out to Ryan Preece. Same with Keselowski, who as well needs some good points for his chase position. Todd Gilliland in 8th place for him. Kind of came out of nowhere, but kind of got lucky as well with the caution coming out in stage 2 during the pit cycle. Gilliland was able to just cycle up to the front and was able to stay up there. So some great stuff from Todd Gilliland. And then Daniel Suarez also in 9th place. His teammate of Hocevar down in 13th. Hocevar looked pretty good in this race, but slowly but surely the car started to go away. Handling started to fade. Kind of a tough night from Hocevar. William Byron in 12th. Ryan Blaney, the pole sitter, last week's winner, ends up in 11th. Austin Cindric, the third Penske car, in 14th. And then Kyle Larson down in 15th. Had a couple issues on pit road. Had some penalties, I believe, as well. So just a tough night for Larson, but still grinds out a good finish. And then Chase Elliott, 17th. He looked pretty good in this one as well. Looks like he might have been able to compete with Hamlin and Logano when on equal tires, on equal strategies, but Chase Elliott was 3 laps down in 17th. That just shows like how dominant Logano was with all the green flag racing we had. Chase Elliott just could not get out of the lap down territory. Chris Buescher in 20th. Tough night for Chris Buescher. Eric Jones as well. 3 laps down in 21st. Was actually showing some good speed, but didn't get many good stage points. So we'll take a look at the chase standings as well because this did affect him as well. Zane Smith in 22nd. Another midday for him. Chastain had the fastest lap of the race, finished in 27th. Bowman and Tyler Reddick in 30th for Reddick and 26th for Bowman. They were the reason we had that caution in the the pit cycle in stage 2. Bowman looked like he was trying to come to pit road, just wasn't clear. Absolutely cleared out Tyler Reddick, and they both spun coming to pit road. Caution came out. Just a bad mistake by Alex Bowman to bring out that caution. That ultimately screwed him and his teammates of Byron and Elliott from having what would have been, I think, really good nights for them. So tough night for Bowman. And beyond that, Connor Zilic in 32nd, just another rough night for him. And then Josh Berry and AJ Allmendinger both DNF'd. Had some mechanical issues in this one. Berry hit the wall, or actually got spun out. I believe it was by another car. I can't exactly remember who it was. I think it was Christopher Bell, actually. Bell just washed up the racetrack, lost the handling, lost the nose, collected Barry, sent him in the wall, broke the left rear, or the right rear, left rear toe link, broke something in the left rear, I should say. I don't remember if it was a toe link or not, but that ended Barry's night. And then Allmendinger as well, pushing really hard to stay on the lead lap in stage 2. Hit the wall really, really hard. Broke something in the right rear as well. Couldn't get back out on track. So really tough night for Allmendinger and Barry. Allmendinger, really rough stretch of races for him when he has been trying desperately to make a push for the chase, but definitely made it a lot harder with back-to-back finishes outside the top 35. Back-to-back last place finishes. Good grief. Man, it has been rough for the number 16 team for calling racing of AJ Allmendinger. So we'll take a look at the chase standings in just a moment. But there you go. There's a look at your top finishers from from last night's race at North Wilkesboro. Real quick, looking at the in-season challenge real quick, we have 2 drivers advancing to the final matchup next weekend, or this coming weekend, I should say, in Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400. One of them, like I predicted, will be Ryan Blaney. He defeated Christopher Bell. Bell ended up in 19th, Ryan Blaney in 11th. It was close. It got close at the end when Blaney went a lap down and was, closer to Bell than you would like it to be if you're someone that's rooting for Ryan Blaney. But Blaney in 11th beats out Christopher Bell in 19th. So Blaney will move on to the final matchup in Indianapolis next weekend. And his opponent, once again, the Cinderella story of this tournament, will be Todd Gilliland in the number 34 car for Front Row Motorsports. The 25 seed defeated Chase Elliott. Elliott finished in 17th, and Todd Gilliland finished in 8th place. Wow. This is insane. We're seeing another Cinderella story with Todd Gilliland. Back-to-back years, a low seed does again. I didn't think we were going to see this year. I really did not. I thought the tracks would play out perfectly for Elliott and Blaine to advance to the final round. I was close with Elliott. Don't get me wrong. Elliott made it to the semifinal. But man, I was rooting for Chase Elliott to maybe take a big swing at it and just, make something happen, to run around Todd Gilliland and get close and make it interesting. Ended up not being the case here. So that is unfortunate, but still just an awesome storyline that we have going on here with Todd Gilliland moving on to the final matchup to take on NASCAR Cup champion of Ryan Blaney. And who's to say Todd Gilliland can't do it again at Indianapolis this coming weekend? Crazier things have happened in the Brickyard 400. I look at last year. Last year was just crazy stuff we saw at the Brickyard 400. Could we see Todd Gilliland pull it out and really make it the underdog story of the in-season challenge by defeating Ryan Blaney? We'll have to wait and see on that, but man, this should be a fun kind of final. At least I'm hoping this will be a fun final matchup. If Blaney's just leading by a bunch, then yeah, there's no real fun in that. But yeah, I'm hoping Todd Gilliland pulls it out. I'm rooting for Todd Gilliland next weekend, or this coming weekend in Indianapolis, to make something happen and maybe, just maybe, even if he's not having a great day, take a big swing at it on strategy or whatever. Stay out to get ahead of Ryan Blaney, to put himself in the conversation. I'm hoping that, Todd Gilliland and Chris Lawson, his crew chief, they do something to maybe, just maybe, squeak out the in-season challenge victory and win $1 million. Todd Gilliland's a guy that also just got paid, by the way, just got signed that contract extension. Man, it will be an amazing weekend for Todd Gilliland, or 2 weekends, I should say. Signs the extension, top 10 at North Wilkesboro, then goes to Indianapolis and defeats a NASCAR Cup Series champion for $1 million. That's like the best 2-week stretch, I would say, in NASCAR history for one driver, maybe outside of win the championship, but still, that's awesome if Todd Gilliland can pull that off. Alrighty, but now moving on and taking a look at the chase standings Ryan Blaney now has clinched himself a spot in the chase. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin has pulled out to a 68-point advantage over Tyler Reddick, while Blaney is only 19 points behind Tyler Reddick for second place. So Blaney, with the current stretch that he is on, it's getting close to Blaney entering this conversation for second place. I just realized that Blaney's top 10 streak ended this week. Dang, that sucks. Oh man, I was hoping Blaney could continue keep moving that on. I thought with the pole sitting position that Blaney had, he was gonna do it, but dang, that sucks. Ty Gibbs in fourth, Chase Elliott in fifth, Kyle Larson in sixth, Carson Osfar, Chase Briscoe actually is up a couple spots, Busher in ninth, Bell in 10th, Suarez 11th, Byron 12th, Wallace 13th. That's all unchanged. SVG moves up a spot into 14th. He's only 5 points ahead of Joey Logano. Cindric is in 16th. The last driver in, Logano, now jumps up 2 spots to 15th place. So huge jump for Joey Logano. That's how important winning is now in NASCAR. It may not be winning you're in, but winning a race is still very, very important in NASCAR. But then looking at the drivers outside the chase, with Cindric being the last driver in, Eric Jones is now out by 33 points, still within a race points total there. So Jones can make that up, but now he is 1 spot outside the chase, so that's a tough break for Eric Jones. Ryan Preece is out by, I believe, a little over 40 points. I think as well. I think he's out by 48 points. Brad Keselowski out by 58. Michael McDowell out by a whole lot. And same with Ross Chastain and on back. So definitely going to be a little bit tougher for some of these drivers, especially 20th on back to make the chase. It's really come down to Jones, Priest, and Keselowski. But things can change pretty quickly in NASCAR. Like I've said many times, points can be made up and lost in an instant, just one race. So I expect the chase will tighten up a little bit, at least the cut line and the bubble. I expect that'll get a little bit narrower with SVG, Logano, Cindric, even Bubba Wallace as well. He's not entirely safe. I would think Byron, one bad race here and there can put him in some serious danger. Same with Suarez, maybe Bell. But beyond that, I'm thinking that, Busher, Briscoe, Hocevar, Larson, up, they're all pretty good. They've been pretty consistent. I think that it'll be pretty easy for them to make the chase. Just continue doing what they're doing, continue to run at their pace. They should be fine. Bell, Suarez, Byron, Wallace, SVG, Logano. If one thing goes wrong for them, they have a bad race, it's going to get tight very, very quick for a lot of those guys. So these guys down here, same thing. One good finish and one bad finish for them, the guys that are in the chase, can put them right back in it. So anything can happen. We'll have to wait and see what happens next in Indianapolis and how the regular season will finish out as we near closer to the start of NASCAR's return to the chase. But there's a look at the chase standings heading into Indianapolis this coming weekend. We'll have to wait and see how these continue to shift and what drivers may be on the cut line and what drivers may get in. It's all very close right now. We'll have to wait and see how this all shakes out. But now the final segment of today's show is the race review rating that I have for the Window Worlds 450 in NASCAR's return to North Wilkesboro Speedway. This was an interesting race because it was a very good race, at least in my opinion. The racing was great, multi-groove racing, many cars going a lap down. It felt like a traditional short track race, at least for North Wilkesboro standards, where in the past, many drivers go a lap down because it's a little bit smaller and we get long green flag runs. Had a couple cautions mixed in there, some mistakes made out on track, but still, fairly clean race, really good racing, multi-groove racing. It was awesome. And the weekend itself, it's just a cool event to be back racing at North Wilkesboro, which not too long ago was, overgrown and not being used. It wasn't being maintained. There was no racing going on here. Now we have NASCAR Cup Series points racing back there with great racing with the next gen car, which produced a great show when historically the next gen car has not put on great short track racing at all. So this was a good race. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a B plus. Very solid rating. One of the best races that we've seen all year long. I don't know if it quite competes with some of the better ones, like Atlanta last weekend was awesome, but it was definitely up there for one of the top 5, definitely top 10 races of the year so far. So I'm going to give it an 85%, which is, I think, a B grade overall if you're counting like letter grades. It was a good race, really overall. So with that being said, let me know down in the comments what you think. Should I have given it a higher rating? Should I have given it a lower rating? What would you have done? Let me know down in the comment section below what you think. But that, I think, will do it for this episode of Talkin NASCAR, everyone. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you did, make sure you follow the show so you never miss another episode of Talkin NASCAR. If you like what I'm doing over here as well, go check out Talking Sports with Miles and Andrew. I'll have links down in the description to that show as well. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Talkin NASCAR. I will see you probably in a couple days. I'm going to be heading out of town for a couple days with my family, just taking a little trip. So I'll be back pretty soon with another NASCAR news episode. Some power rankings should be on the way, so stay tuned for that and more. I'll see you next time.